All right, guys, so last class we learned about elements, compounds, and mixtures. And today we have a demo that's not only going to show us what we learned last class, but it's also going to help lead us into what we're learning today, which deals with chemical and physical changes. So in these two buckets, in these two test tubes, we have iron, which is a metal, and we also have sulfur, which is yellow, nice and smelly. But we have these two in a test tube. And so the first question, it's a pretty easy one, is what is in these test tubes? Do we have elements? Do we have compounds? Or do we have mixtures? And I think everyone could quite easily tell me that in these right now, as it stands, it's just an element. But what we're gonna do now is put these two together in our larger test tube. Put the iron in, put the sulfur in, and we'll mix these together a little bit.
All right, hey guys, so we have poured the sulfur and the iron in there, so we're gonna mix it here with a stirring rod. All right, now we've got it all mixed. So, now that we have them together, before they were elements, right? Separate sulfur and iron. Now that we put them together and mixed them, I mean, what does that make it? It's a mixture, right? So, how would you go about separating those two? Because mixtures can be separated. They're two separate elements. So, how do you think that we can separate the iron, which is a metal, and the sulfur, which is a powder?
I don't know. How do you?
Well, we can use a magnet. Iron is a metal, which means it's magnetic. So, if we take this magnet and put it up against the test tube, you can actually see the iron move away from the sulfur.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome? Science. All right, so let's mix it back together again. So we've got a whole nice mixture. Awesome.
Okay, so back to our sulfur and iron. So we talked about how we can physically change these two elements together. We talked about how our iron is a metal, and we used, Mr. Long used a magnet to physically separate these. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about how we can chemically change these using heat, AKA our Bunsen burner, because it's lit. One. Okay, so we are now going to ignite our Bunsen burner, slowly turning on our gas. It is appear lit, okay?
It went away.
Okay, now you will notice I am moving our test tube into our flame, and you should see the chemical change start to happen.
Okay guys, so now that we're done with the experiment, you can see what we have left is just a nice solid, it's not gonna pour out or anything like that. The inside, it's very solidified. And what we have here is no longer two elements or a mixture. We have fused those two elements together, creating a compound. So instead of iron and sulfur, it's now iron sulfide, which is a compound.